Hello and welcome to the Mindset Mentor. I'm your host, Tania Kolar, helping you cultivate a life you love. Do you ever find that your life kind of feels out of whack? Things are just not in sync and you have an imbalance and you just don't know what's going on, or you'd love to have more clarity in your life and understanding your life purpose. Well, today we're going to talk about soul realignment, which is really going to help you gain an understanding of, providing clarity for your life and your purpose and connecting and rediscovering the divine self. And today, my guest joining me is a soul realignment practitioner, and she's also a life coach. So we're going to delve deep into these topics, and we're also going to talk about property energy clearing. And I think these two go hand in hand so perfectly because if we think about it, our home is really an extension of who we are. And if we look at epigenetics shows us that our environment can actually change and alter our genes. So our environment is really important as well. Always great to look at, the whole and our home as well and how we can actually cultivate a life that we truly love. So let's delve into the conversation and say hello and welcome to Marilyn Penny. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Hi, Tanya. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. Well, it's exciting because this is a topic that has, it's rich with knowledge and wisdom and clarity. And I think so many people today are looking for clarity. So if we can just start with, what is soul realignment? I know a lot of people haven't heard about it. So what is it?
Okay. So, soul realignment is about bringing us back to our original, what we call our divine blueprint as a soul. So, when we're created as a soul, we're perfect, we're loved. And as we go through and incarnate through lifetimes, we make choices that are negative for us. So, they may stay with in our soul, and then throughout our lifetimes, those blocks and those negative choices we've made tend to repeat for us. So it brings us further and further away from who we truly are. So the purpose of this work is to rediscover who are you, and can we clear away some of those blocks, some of that debris that you've been carrying around with you throughout lifetimes, and even some in this current lifetime, and just allow you to then reset yourself, get your soul back to where you were and live your divinity.
Oh, I love that because I think it's tough when you have lost connection and you just don't know, and you just don't feel authentic and things just don't feel that, you're in the flow and that natural state and things become a struggle. So it's interesting to be able to clear some of those blocks. And of course, many of those are subconscious and as you say, can go way back, right? So to different lifetimes. And so let's talk about, what is really the purpose of carrying some of those blocks from a past life, and why is that the case? Why does that happen, and what's the purpose, and is there a purpose to it in this life, the relevance?
Well, and I think a lot of people think that we're here to learn lessons and and things will repeat and repeat and repeat for us. And we don't seem to, like, do you not get the lesson? Like, why are we here? What are we doing? In this work, what we say is that we're here to create. We're here to create a wonderful experience for us, or the experience that we choose. So when we make choices in a past life and they create, say it's a negative choice for our soul and it creates a negative consequence, it will bring it forward into the next lifetimes. And then you'll experience that again, perhaps in a different way. So you're learning about it all throughout those lifetimes. But then eventually you're here now and you're saying, okay, this keeps happening to me and I'm not quite understanding why, say a relationship situation, why in every relationship does the same thing keep happening? But you can't figure it out because it's coming up in a different way. Well, maybe you had a contract in a past life with someone and it's just replaying itself in many different ways. So you need to acknowledge that, understand it, and then know how to move forward in a different way. So it's sort of like guiding us through our life and learning how to make different choices for ourselves that are more in alignment with who we are.
Yeah, completely helpful. So what are some of the vows that people can make, in a different life that is affecting us today?
So there could be, say, a vow of suffering. So maybe you, in a past lifetime, you married someone and it was a very, a difficult time and you had a vow of suffering. And then so you fast forward into this life. And if you're still stuck in that vow, things are just going to feel hard for you when they shouldn't be. And that's, and you may just think, wow, this shouldn't be so difficult. Why do I keep going through these things over and over and over again? And, and then you find out, oh, that's why. Because I actually had a vow that created suffering in my life. I made that choice, and that is staying with me throughout these lifetimes.
And what about another type of vow?
Another type of vow would be obedience, which is a good one. So, and I've had that come up for a number of people, and I said, there's also duality, right? So your vow of obedience may come out in, oh, I'm so obedient. I do everything that everybody tells me. I don't think for myself in a lot of cases. I'm just following along.
Yeah.
Right. Very well. Or you can actually, on the flip side, you can become quite a rebel and be anti-obedient and not really understand why. So you could toggle between those two things and go, what is going on? So we just want to know, okay, I chose that vow of obedience in a past life. I need to get rid of that. Please take that away. And then we just find that you have ease around it. It's not that you're never going to be obedient again, or you're never going to be a rebel again. It just means that you have ease around it. You don't feel that pull towards, oh, I have to, because somebody told me to do that. I have to do that. You'll be able to then feel into it and say, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'll do that, or that doesn't. And, you just feel a little more calm around that whole feeling of.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes a lot of sense when you can sort of piece it together, right? It gives you a different understanding and an awareness, right? So you can really be proactive about, how you choose to use it, right? Or to eliminate it, which I think is great.
Yes, that's the best part.
Exactly. Well, it's really interesting. And, full disclosure, everyone, I've had a soul realignment session with Marilyn and also a property energy clearing. And, I'll be happy to talk about it. And Marilyn is going to share some experiences of clients that she's worked with, and you can get an understanding, and maybe it'll resonate and you'll start to think of, I've got this same kind of thing going on, right? So when you talked about the vows, and one thing that I remembered from my session with you, Marilyn, was a vow of suffering. So apparently I've taken a vow of suffering, and I don't know why I would do such a thing, but it is interesting, because if I look at in my life, just as a whole, from childhood to now, it's like, I have actually had quite a lot of suffering, and I think that innately, I always felt that I needed to suffer a little bit more than everybody else. And I never really kind of understood what that was all about. So it was really interesting when you said that to me. I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. And you don't need to. We don't need to. We want to uncover these things and try to clear them from our past experiences, so that we can move forward with new choices and attract new things into our life.
So can all of these experiences that we've had, whether it be in, this lifetime or a past life, can they all be, eliminated, or, how does that work? Is there a limit to the context of that?
Well, there's a process through it. So what happens is your soul is only going to reveal through the records what you need to see and work on right now. So I've had, multiple sessions with other clients who they've, gone and done the work and looked at what blocks are coming up for them now. And then, a few months down the road, they'll come back and they say, okay, I've made some different choices. Here are some areas where I felt that this has helped me. And now I want to see what's next. What do I need to work on next? So it's a whole transformational process, because we could have had many, 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 many past lifetimes. And if we uncovered everything at once, you would literally have a healing crisis, because you'd be trying to get everything done. And we're never done. That's the really cool thing that I really latch onto, is this: we're never done. We're here to create. We're here to move ourselves and transform ourselves. And you don't want to be done. You don't want to eat all the food in your whole life in one day. You want to slowly transform, and it's a beautiful process. And as long as we're all growing and evolving, that's why we're here, and raising that level of consciousness.
Yeah, I think that is important in that evolution, and to, I think situations that present to you are really things that you're able and now willing to handle. So, I think it's kind of everything shows up in divine timing. Essentially, I think when you
Yes.
get that message right through perhaps the reading, then you would really, be able to act on that or to handle the information that's coming in. I think it's really key to tap into our intuition and to gain that understanding. So
Mhm.
you had mentioned the records. So let's talk about the records, the Akashic records that you would be accessing. So can you explain what the Akashic records are for people that may have not, maybe have never heard of it?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the Akashic records, they live in the astral plane. Which, so if you think of a spiritual sandwich, we have our earth plane, our physical plane, and then we have our astral plane, which is sort of beyond our mind. So coming from sort of the fifth dimension, and then the spirit world is above that. So that's where our loved ones go in the spirit world. So the astral plane is in the middle, and that's where the Akashic records live. And that is the internet for the soul. So the Akashic records hold all of the information from the point that we are created throughout all our lifetimes, every choice we've ever made, every move we've ever made, everything we've done. So it's just a brilliant resource that we can have in our system to allow us to understand ourselves.
So how is it that we now have disconnected from that sort of information and that internet, all that knowledge that's there about us and our journey? So what happened?
I think that we just
Mhm.
when we incarnate into a physical plane, I think we just forget. But I mean, there are lots of people who access the records and who have a gift to do that, and we all have the ability to do it. It's just how we can do it and what we do with the information. So I think it's really important, and a lot of people will just be very much in their physical state, and they won't consider that there are other dimensions. But I just think it makes me feel more comfortable knowing that there's a whole lot of support for me. There's a whole universal, big, warm hug there for us to help us and guide us. So I think that everybody can benefit from working in some way with the records, with the spirit world, with everything beyond our mind and our physical bodies.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's definitely worth exploring, even for those who really are, on the fence or thinking, nah, I've never really believed in any of this stuff or in an afterlife or past life or anything like that. But I think it's important to always, just listen to the information and take from it what you will, that can serve you moving forward. And, if we open our minds, I mean, I always talk about a growth mindset and how important it is to have a growth mindset, and that's the same thing as just being open to receiving information. Now our brains, we can process the information and we can accept or reject whatever it is that we want, but I do think it's important to have conversations and just to be open and willing to see what's there for you and how it can impact your life and better your life, in many ways. So really interesting to be able to tap into the Akashic records and find not just the knowledge, but also really the purpose of your life and what some of your gifts are and why we're really here. So, can you give us some examples from your clients that you've worked with in terms of some of the things that they have discovered and now are using today and have implemented in their lives?
Yes, yes, definitely. One really, really good one that stands out is a client I had a couple of weeks ago, and I had said, you're really a design person. Like you really have a visual aesthetic. I said, are you in interior design? Like, what do you do? Because I don't like to know too much about my clients before I go digging around to find out about them. And she totally had thought about studying it and moved away and took another path, but has always loved it and did it just for herself. And I said, it's really interesting, something you might want to look at. And then literally the next day, a van was following me on the highway, or was ahead of me on the highway with a design company and a website. And I got it down and I sent it to her and I said, I don't know if this is a sign, but I think it's for you. And she looked into it and it inspired her to go take a course on design and really get into it. And another client, I had same sort of idea, very much into beauty. And she showed me her place. And she said, I have all this wonderful art hanging. I used to do art, but I don't do it anymore. And so she started taking classes. Which was lovely. And it just brightened her up so much. And another client, I talked to her this week, and I said, you really need to work in your physical body. You're too much in your head. Your gift is that you express yourself physically. So through yoga or dance or something. And she started taking dance class. And she actually got her own message about that she needs to play more and she needs to dance. And she was so lit up when I talked to her, and I was doing another reading with her, like a second one. And she said, you're the third person that's told me that. Because I said, I have to tell you, you have opened up and you're brighter and your personality, like what's going on? And she said, it's this work. Like I just feel so much better. And 3 people have told me that.
That's awesome.
I just love these stories. And I talked to a young woman. She's 21. It was for her 21st birthday. I was so honored to share her birthday with her. And she said, I said, well, here are your gifts. Like you really are, in this case, I said, you really are organized. You love systems. You love to organize things. Like you're a planner, organizer. And she was saying, oh my God, I thought I had OCD. Like she really was worried that she was obsessive about it. And I said, here, we just need to set up a few boundaries. You don't have to organize everyone's space, but you can just work on your own and then use it to your advantage in a career or something. And she's like, oh my God. And it was just like a light bulb went off, So I love this work. I love sharing those things with people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's great validation. And, hearing that people are brightening up and their life has opened up for them, because when you're doing what you truly love, it does feel different, right? There's an ease about it. You're just so excited. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing to be able to help people sort of reconnect and realign with their soul and their purpose here. We're going to take a break here on the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, and my special guest today is Marilyn Penny. Marilyn is a soul realignment practitioner and also a life coach. And we're going to talk more about, connecting with the divine, authentic self, finding clarity, purpose, understanding gifts, and also we're going to talk about property energy clearing. So stay with us, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you cultivate a life you love. So as you know, your mindset is like a muscle, and it needs to be strengthened and conditioned. So this is your mindset workout. And today we want you to stretch the imagination, open the mind, and we're going to learn about soul realignment. So we're talking about soul realignment, which is really about, connecting with the authentic divine self and also gaining clarity and understanding life purpose and your gifts and your talents, and discovering some of the blocks that you have in your life and what's preventing you really from, living your full potential, your best life. We're also going to talk about property energy clearing, which I think is a great sort of add-on to soul realignment. It makes sense because if you think about it, your environment, your home is an extension of you, and your environment is so important as to how we function. Right? If you think about it, when your home is cluttered and there's chaos around you and things are upside down, your life is upside down. You feel chaotic. You don't feel, calm and peaceful and rested. So we do want to take a look at our environment as well. But we're going to continue the conversation. My guest today is Marilyn Penny. Marilyn is a soul realignment practitioner, and she's also a life coach. So let's just dive right back into the conversation, Marilyn, and, talk more about, some of the other things that you have discovered for people, your clients, in terms of helping them to develop their true gifts. A lot of people go through life thinking that, they don't have gifts and they're not talented in this particular thing. Every single person has talents and gifts. There's no doubt about that. But I do believe that sometimes through life, we tend to forget what we're really good at. So how do you help people really figure it out and unravel some of the disbelief about their talents?
Well, I think sometimes, and for the most part, people do resonate. do understand when I tell them that they have these gifts. Sometimes they're afraid to use them. So something like communication is a big, an energy. And I know you have that. We discovered that about you, which is very affirming, that you're in the right role for you. So some people don't really feel comfortable speaking, and maybe I'll say, well, maybe it's writing. Oh, well, I don't like that, or I don't like to. But then we sort of we work around it. And actually, a client had said, I know you told me that I have to communicate more, and she was doing Reiki, but she wasn't sure how that would work. And I said, it's more communicating the messages. Like, don't feel that you have to talk. Just feel like when something comes that you want to share, that you share. And she couldn't figure out about the writing. And she likes to write and journal, but it wasn't coming out. And then it sort of connected. The poetry was more her thing. So she got into poetry. So it's just finding, it's not necessarily that I just say, okay, you should be doing this. It's more like, you seem to have a gift in this area. So how can we figure out with what you already do, how can you, even in a current job, say that someone's in their career, and I'll say, okay, so where can you speak more in your career? Can you adjust what you're doing in your job to maybe train people more? Or, and then say, oh, that's interesting. And then they'll come back and say, oh, here, I'm doing this now. And I've added this to my work. Or, so it's just making those small adjustments. As it's like one step at a time. You don't expect someone, just quit your job and, do this now. No, I'm not.
It can be scary, right? It can be scary for a lot of people.
Exactly. And sometimes I share what can happen when you aren't, like, say, communicating. When you kind of stop communicating, then you're not sharing your gift with the world. So let's find a way that's comfortable for you, that aligns with your gifts. And then that sort of helps them. Oh, okay. It's not like a big major life change if that's not what's comfortable for them. It's just making sure, and also understanding too, the type of people around them, that they understand what their energy is. So if you say need to talk things out, like a communicator may like to talk things out and not have someone. So you need people around you that listen, that hold space for you. So if there's someone that's constantly trying to fix you or tell you, answer you, and that's maybe not the right type of person, or you share with them, you know what, I just need you to listen. And then we sort of learn about each other and understand how we interact best.
Yeah, I think it's important to have clarity about yourself so that you can freely express that with other people and understand, what's working and why it's working, and then make the appropriate actions and changes to facilitate that better in your life. But I think it's really important for other people also, to share and to have these open conversations. And, we all want to help each other as best as we can. And if you're certainly in a relationship, it can really make a difference if you don't vocalize what it is that you want or what you need, or, what you would love to do, because that really starts to strip away from the self, right? And we cover up. In the case of, let's say, speaking your truth, and if you keep on suppressing that, it's really going to start to feel pretty awful. And cause a lot of problems, in life. So if we can learn to sort of recognize those moments and take action to prevent them and to eliminate the ones that really are causing a problem, I think life is going to be completely different. And it's interesting because just some of the small changes, you don't have to change your entire life. And obviously people are having to earn an income, earn a living, support their families. They have responsibilities. So we're not talking about, doing a complete overall call on your life, right? Maybe, right?
For you want to.
Yeah, exactly, right? But maybe it would be more of just, in a hobby, start small, start with something, right? Just to get those juices flowing again.
Yeah, and it makes the other stuff that may feel a little more mundane or a little, maybe that's not in alignment, because a client I have, her job is not in alignment with what she wants to do or be. And so, but she's adding things into her life in those off hours that makes getting through the day or getting through maybe the not so happy stuff, it's so much easier, because then you say, oh, I'm going to go to this tonight, or I'm going to take this course, or I'm going to, do this in my house. I'm going to, it's exciting. And you had mentioned relationships. I actually do a relationship reading too. So that's really fun, because then you learn how you support each other's energies. You learn what past lives you've had together, why you've come together. And what some of the blocks in your relationship are. So if you're having a bit of a challenge and not getting, understanding it, this kind of helps you to understand, oh, that's why. That's why that's happening. If you clear blocks in that respect too. So that's really, I'm really enjoying that as well.
So when you do a relationship reading and only one person from that relationship is coming to have a soul realignment, can it really trickle into the secondary person in that relationship? Or do they both, or should they both come together or separately but do the same work?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, they're both together, and in certain situations, you would need to have permission from both people, like in a close friendship, say. But if you're in a marriage with somebody, or it's a parent-child relationship, you have energetic permission for me to open their record, and then so you can do the work. You can clear for the other person. They may not be participating or doing the homework, essentially, but there's still a lot of work that can be done. Because quite often I will say to someone who's in a difficult relationship, I'll say, you know what, you work on yourself and just see what happens, see how that reflects onto that relationship and helps it anyway. I think that's really wonderful.
Fantastic. I love that. So can you give us some examples and I want to stay on the topic of relationships. So if we could start with, let's say, a parent-child relationship. So people that you have worked with, what kind of changes or revelations have shown up in terms of that connection?
Well, actually, I did myself and my daughter.
Okay.
So that was interesting. So there were some issues there that were showing up, like protection contact. Like I feel like I need to protect her, and now that she's in her 20s, it's like I needed to release that and let her create her own life. And we sort of found out that we were sisters in a previous life, and that sort of made us feel comfortable that that's why we are so close as a mother-daughter in this lifetime. So that was really neat. I did some twins, which was really exciting. So they had learned that they were in past relationships together as a healer and a client, which was really cool. They were also twins again in a previous lifetime. So when we just sort of talked a little bit about them supporting each other's energies and what blocks were coming up for them and how they can support each other. So it's a learning process, and it takes some time to get some feedback in terms of what people are working on in their relationships. But I've had another one that someone has come back for another relationship because they want to have a relationship with someone else in their life. So there's it's really exciting because they want to learn how all these interactions work with them and their energy and their gifts, and why am I with that person in that relationship, and why am I, and should I be in business with this person? Is this the right for me? So I'm finding that people tend to be very different, but they've come together to learn lessons together, to work together through some issues that they each have, and to clear some blocks for each other. Like you're sort of coming together to address those blocks and then release them so that other relationships can ease.
Yeah, sounds great. Now, so if somebody comes to an initial session, what does that process look like? Do they need to come in with an idea of, what they want, or can they just start with a clean slate and let you sort of guide the direction of where it would take you and them?
Yeah, well, generally I would ask for an intention at the beginning, just so that I have just a basis. And intentions are really good to have in any situation, because you want to sort of get an idea of, why am I here? Because you want to, especially in a relationship, the intention can't be, I want to fix it. I want to fix it. Well, maybe that's not what's meant for that relationship, but maybe a deeper understanding of where you are now and where you can move forward from. So we just have to have these clear intentions. And also it helps to do follow up, because if someone wants to make changes in their life and you discover all this information, then you really want to act on it. You really want to take those steps and then see, okay, did that really help me? And I've cleared this out now, and now I need to move in a different direction. Because otherwise, it's all just information, right? Until you actually
And I'm sure there's a lot of information, and that's, I mean, certain people, they know what they want, or what they want to work on, or where they need some help. So it is good to set that intention, because again, you may hear some information that may be accessible through the Akashic Records, but you're not ready to hear that information, right?
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's really key, is to set that intention. Now, we are going to take a break, and we'll continue the conversation with my special guest today, Marilyn Penny. Marilyn is a soul realignment practitioner and life coach, helping people really, release those blocks that keep them from living and connecting with their authentic self, that divine self that everybody has, but sometimes it gets covered up, and we just need to have a little bit of help to rediscover and to tap back into that beautiful space where life just becomes much easier. You have that beautiful, sweet flow, where you're not stuck in suffering and resistance. And we talked a little bit about, having some of those vows, and that's sort of why we are in this state where we have challenges in life, right, so to speak. So we will continue the conversation here on the Mindset Mentor on Sauga 960 when we come back. And welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. Are you ready to continue your mindset workout? Well, today we are talking about soul realignment. And also, we're going to get into property energy clearing. My special guest today is Marilyn Penny. She is a soul realignment practitioner and life coach, and is really helping people again to release some blocks that they have, whether it be from this life or a past life, and how those blocks are actually, affecting your current reality. Also providing clarity and helping you discover your divine self. We all have it, right? It's there. Sometimes we cover it up because of life, and we just get weighed down by all of that. So we're going to continue the conversation. Marilyn, it's an absolute pleasure having you here. And I would love to focus on, really, for this part, I want to talk about the property energy clearing. And it's really a perfect add-on to the soul realignment, because our home is an extension of who we are, and our environment can really affect how we operate and function in our day to day. So I think it is perfect to delve into that. But before we just get into that, I just want to quickly clarify. So, if you have a soul realignment session with you, what does the next step look like from there? Because obviously, our life is not going to be perfectly balanced and connected with the divine self, after one session. So, what does it look like?
So what happens after we complete the soul realignment session? I give you homework, and it's not hard, but it just helps to remind your ego and your subconscious mind that these blocks have been cleared. So I should give you a little homework protocol that you do for 21 days. Mm-hmm. So, and in the meantime, you can take a look at some of the other readings that I do and other types of sessions. And one's called Life Situations. So you can take a number of issues that you have in your life, and I will actually put those into categories or situations, and then I'll uncover any blocks that are coming up. So this would be like negative beliefs that you might have, illusions that you're participating in, imprints, or even, hooks or cords that you have with other souls that are causing you some trouble in those issues. So we can go through. So that's sort of another type of reading that does some clearing as well for you. And I also have a manifesting blueprint, because we all manifest differently. Some people think that it's all the same for everyone, but we actually have a blueprint. And this work, the soul blueprint is who we are, and the manifesting blueprint is like our operating manual. So I actually come up with some really interesting measurements that tell you this is how you can manifest. So we'll take something you want, and we'll apply those criteria, and we'll figure out how you can move towards that. So in chakras, we do some work with chakras, and then of course come around back to the property clearing. So and then and revisiting soul realignment. A little bit more down the road after you've made some choices, then you can come back and do it again and see what's next for you to uncover.
Yes, well, we're on this beautiful journey here, of life, and it's really important to really take steps to foster our well-being and our future, and to ensure that we are, taking action towards creating what we would like to create versus what we don't want. And that's why, with the mindset, always important to prime your mindset, right? Know where you want to go and stop focusing on, where you don't want to be, because that's going to just create more of what you don't want when that's the focus, right? So let's delve into the property energy clearing. So what is that? If you could explain that for everyone.
Okay, sure. So that is similar to soul realignment, but it's with your property. So I'm actually able to access your property through the Akashic Records, and I ask just a set number of questions. We uncover if there are portal ways open, energetic portal ways that allow negative energies to come and go. And also earthbound souls. We do have earthbound souls with us that are not quite, haven't completed their transition, and they may be taking energy from your property, and it's really good to lovingly send them on their next experience. And that's what I do with this work, and I love that part of the work. And also uncovering negative energies that may be hanging around. So maybe you've, had some emotion in your family, or you've gone through a trauma or some grief or some depression, and you have things that are hanging in your space that are still affecting you. Even though consciously you may have moved on from these feelings, your subconscious is still holding on. Your property has connected. You've connected that to your space. And that needs to be cleared so that you can.
Yeah. So your property, your home environment really has memory. And that memory could be from other people who were in that space, not just currently and who lives there at that time. Really interesting. So I had also the property energy clearing with Marilyn for everyone, so I thought that was really cool. What I love most about it is that I didn't have to do any of the work. I thought, when you were telling me about the property clearing, I thought, I'm going to have to start like moving things around, rearranging my furniture, getting rid of things. And I thought, that's it. You just need to know the address. And then you do the work to clear the space. Wonderful.
I don't even have to come to your house either. I do it all remotely. I love that too.
Yeah. And so fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things with the property clearing, the portal ways, the gateways, and some things that I can remember from my reading was that, I did have some lingering energies that needed to go.
Yes,
right. And that just the location itself was at some point a sacred site. Yes. So let's talk about what that means and, how you're able to clear that space.
Sure. Yeah. So the land that your property is on or your home is on, it obviously isn't many, many, many years old. So it would have been, you had a different purpose. And sometimes it could have been a burial ground, a battleground, or a sacred site. So that just means that energetically it's assigned as that, what the land was originally used for. So when you build houses on it, those homes may not feel just energetically comfortable as a home. So I just request that it be adjusted in the records to be energetically assigned as now a home or a home office. And that just makes you feel a little more settled. And some people really have felt that and really understand that maybe they're in someone else's space or on someone else's property. Like it just feels a little uncomfortable. So, and it's all done with pure intention just to make that adjustment so that everybody is more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all know, not just with our own space, but walking into anyone's space, whether it feels comfortable or sometimes you just get an uneasy feel and something just doesn't feel right. Or when you leave, you feel absolutely drained. So it's interesting that that environment, is really creating part of that feeling, right? So what are the first steps that you're going to look for in the property energy clearing?
So the first step in terms of what I need from you is simply an address. Like you were saying, it's so easy. You just give me your address. Yay! And I look and I look for these portals because the portals are important. So if you think of Swiss cheese, your property is like Swiss cheese when portalways are open. So if you have a closet you don't use, or particularly people who are energetically sensitive or children or pets, they may actually not go into areas of a house or not feel comfortable in a room or be upset or throw tantrums or something. And you're like, why? What is going on? So that's what we need to shut those down. So we need to figure out what's in there, all of the negative energies, and then close the portal ways to protect the space. So that when someone comes into your space and brings a negative energy, you're protecting yourself. But it also brings your conscious awareness too. That so someone comes into your space and they're angry or they're upset or they're you can either attach to that or you can repel that. You can say, I'm not taking that energy on, just because you don't want to just take everyone's energy, and then that stays, and that can stay in your space. So that protects the portalways. Then we uncover negative, if there are negative thought forms. If someone has brought a thought form in there, or you've been feeling down one day and you just created this form, and then it just stays in your space. So you leave and you feel great, or you go to work or you're out with friends, and then you come home and you go, oh, why do I feel this way here? Well, it's because that negative thought form, your property can't release it. It can't evolve itself. It needs this.
Fantastic. And so what is the process? And once you've discovered that, there are these things happening, with the portals, what's the process of clearing them?
So it's just a request through my training. I just request and I name all of the things that are in the property that I've uncovered, and I request the clearing. I do all of that work ahead of time, and then when I chat with you about it, I'm bringing it to your conscious awareness. So we chat about it a bit and say, oh yeah, that's that I certainly resonate with that, and I understand how that comes in, and then that brings it to your awareness, and that completes the clearing. So you really want to, you have to agree to the clearing in order for it to happen. So it's not, I don't have control in that way, which is really good, because some people may say, well, I want to keep that. I want to keep that negative energy. Why not?
Oh, no. That's so funny. Well, I had the property clearing, and I know that there was some negative energies. There was portals, there were gateways, and I'm open. Just get rid of all of it. Go for it. All full permission. Yeah, but it was really quite interesting. And there were a couple of negative energies that sort of, what do you call those? Earthbound?
There were earthbound souls in your property. So, and you had a disruptive earthbound soul, which can cause, problems with your electrical systems. I've had people say they have and you had said too that you have a place in your house that's temperature is a little off, that feels colder. And
one of my bathrooms, is always cold. It's really cold.
Mm-hmm. So that could be a portal wave, certainly, or an earthbound souls energy. I've had somebody say that they've left their hairdryer plugged in and it would go on and off spontaneously. Really interesting.
That's happened with me with electronics and my kettle. And that kind of freaks me out. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And I had a place call me. It was like a hair salon, and they said there's a shelf and they have all these baskets with towels and things, and the baskets were literally flying off the shelves. And once we got through it all, and it stopped happening. So it's just, they're just trying to tell you that they're there and they need help. That's how I interpret it. So,
right. So you're, essentially releasing them as well, right? So that's good. Yeah. Now, what about gateway? So what's the difference between a portal and a gateway?
So a portal would be, if a portal is like a road, and a gateway is like a highway. So that means the energies are spinning. They're going fast. They're going in and out. So you can feel kind of, great one day and down one day, and you're like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. And usually that's in a place where there's just a lot of high energy, like, families, or, there's kids, there's dogs, there's, neighbors, there's people coming and going all the time. And even people that I've talked to that are having renovations done in their house. So there are work people coming and going, and, different things that are happening all the time. So that can really open you up to, to having, creating a gateway, which needs to be closed, because you don't want that.
Absolutely. So what if somebody has actually died in the home? Does that create any, portal or anything like that, or earthbound souls?
It may create an earthbound soul. It just depends on really the circumstances around the death. I mean, if somebody died unexpectedly, or there was an accident, or that may tend to have them stay back. And there are reasons why a soul would stay attached, like a mother to a child, or a loved one, or a partner. If they feel that they're just their time wasn't, they weren't right. They weren't ready to leave. So they want to stay connected to that space or to that person. So that's sort of the reason for it, but it's never appropriate because it takes the energy from the space and the energy from the person, and that soul needs to carry on into their next experience. So that's really important to do that.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. So
Oh no.
I know. Marilyn, if you could tell everyone, Marilyn, how to reach you.
Yes. My website is lifeguidecoaching.ca. So please take a look at all my services. And I have an email address, mvplifeguide@gmail.com. So, and I'm just so thrilled to have been here. And I really appreciate your time and your interest in my work, Tania.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show and also having the soul realignment and property energy clearing. Absolutely love the experience for each of those. And it's always great to have these conversations to help, let people know what's available to them and helping to connect with the divine self, which is always so important in life if we really want to cultivate a life we love and reach our full potential. So thank you so much, Marilyn. And everyone, that is a wrap for today's show. And that is your mindset workout. Make sure you tune in next Tuesday at 1 p.m. for more ways to prime your mindset.